Hey everybody, it's Josh Alexander from Orange County Housing Market News, and today we're going to be talking to David Glanzrock from Fidelity National Title. So if you're a buyer or a seller and you want to make sure you're keeping yourself protected during and after escrow, you need to listen to this interview. So let's get into it. Okay, so today we are here with David, and we're going to be talking about title insurance. So I know it's a topic that doesn't come up a lot, but I want to discuss it because it's a very important part of a real estate transaction. So David, welcome to the show, and just kind of give us a little bit of background on what you do and who you work for, just so we can get an idea of your credentials.
Josh, thanks so much for having me, man.
Absolutely.
My name is David Glanzrock. I'm a vice president at Fidelity National Title here in Orange County. Josh, we are the largest title insurance company in the world, bar none. Nobody even comes close to the size of our company, the number of transactions we close and insure across all of our brands. And what I like to tell people, when you work with us, like if we can't do it, it really can't be done. And it's one of those things where when we talk a little bit about the actual insurance aspect of it, who underwrites your title insurance policy matters when it comes to reserve funds and the financial strength of the company. So we are far and away number one. So I'm really proud to work for Fidelity and be able to work with folks like you.
Perfect. Thanks for the intro. And then I also want to bring up, because I think it's hilarious and it perfectly represents what a lot of people think about title, is that you're branded on social media, things like that, as title is boring. So that's kind of your brand. You're on YouTube that way, Instagram. So what kind of made you come up with that saying, and why have you used that to kind of go through and brand yourself as the title isn't boring agent?
Yeah. So, title insurance is boring. I own it. I'm a big follower of Gary Vaynerchuk. I went to his seminar, Agent 2021 in Miami a couple years ago. And I don't remember what exactly happened because it's been a couple years, but my entire career in title has been, you can't say that you're different than everybody else if you show up with the same crap that everybody else has. Like, I'm different. Here's the same card with my picture on it, and here's some plastic junk for you to throw away. So, I try to bring my personality a little bit into the branding with title is boring. Okay, we get that title is boring. Nobody really wants to talk about it. We got that out of the way with the branding. Let's move on and talk about how we can help you build your business.
Perfect. Okay, so along those lines, let's kind of get to some of the questions and some of the basic things that people need to know about title and title insurance. So the first one I have for you today is, what is title insurance to begin with? And then also, what does it cover during a transaction?
Okay, so those are really phenomenal questions, and hopefully we can give some insight into you and your clients as to some high level stuff. So your license is actually with the Department of Real Estate. I actually have my license is with the Department of Insurance. We're an insurance company, much like your car or your car insurance, your homeowner's insurance, even your health insurance. So title insurance is an actual one-time premium paid policy at the end of a purchase transaction or a refinance transaction that actually insures against any liens or encumbrances against real property that weren't disclosed during the disclosure process. So much like realtors and lenders and everybody else, we don't get paid until the deal closes. And from my perspective, I was taught, I've been in this industry for 19 years. I started as a teenager, as a freshman at ASU. And my broker taught me that if title has done their job properly, you don't know that they've done anything at all. So the single paid premium, the single time premium that everybody's paying, it covers a lot of different things. Actually, it covers against past liens, encumbrances. Maybe there's actually an easement that wasn't disclosed on the property, but we sit there as the referee and the guardian during the real estate transaction to protect not only the seller, the buyer, the borrower, but the lenders and the escrow officers as well. And we do that with that insurance policy that we issue at the end. So some of the things that we've actually paid out premiums for there was an undisclosed electrical easement on a property in Huntington Beach that, that our legal department paid out. And there's all kinds of items where title might come into play. It's one of those things where you hope you never have to use it, but my God, if you ever have to use it, you should be certainly very, very happy that you have it. One of the other experiences that comes up quite a bit is sometimes it's not actually like paying for a lien or something like that. It's actually the ability to have a Fortune 400 company's legal team represent you in legal matters against the property. And some of those things can be something as simple as a seller of a property decided that they would try not to pay their contractors for the work that was done prior to the close of escrow. And, when that happens, yes, the attorney in Newport Beach sending you a demand letter is pretty terrifying, but what's even more terrifying is getting a demand letter from a Fortune 400 company saying, you're gonna pay this.
Got it. So in terms of the escrow process itself, what are some of the most common issues you see really that impact escrow that are title related?
So that's a great question. A lot of the things that really impact that can slow down, I'll preface by saying this. There's very few things that we can't fix given the proper amount of time to fix them. Okay, so that's the first thing I'm going to say. A lot of the common issues that we deal with right now are encumbrances or breaks of the chain of title on what's called a preliminary title report. So a preliminary title report is going to give us a chronological list of everything that's been recorded on the chain of title with the county recorder. And it's going to tell us things like what loans need to be paid off, if there's past due property taxes, is there a solar lease on the property? Things like that are things that we keep an eye out for. The other thing that's really, really important, Josh, that I know you do that can help smooth the transaction is as soon as you are taking a listing or realtors are taking a listing, is to have us order the preliminary title report so we can pick out what items we might need to have. And it's not necessarily like really anything bad, but if the property's held in a trust and one of the owners of the trust has passed away, there's stuff that we need to see that might not be readily accessible, especially right now with COVID times. If somebody's passed away and they're on title of the property, Josh, like we need an original death certificate, and you can't just walk into the county and get those right now. So that can take some time. We also have some folks here that have owned property for a very, very, very long time, and their property was put into a trust in 1985, and the families don't know where the trust is.
Yep.
So some things that we can do to help avoid any problems is say, we need this, this, and this, and we can get things figured out.
Got it. Yeah, that was kind of my second question. And I'm kind of going back to what you were saying. The biggest thing as an agent that I'm seeing on my end, especially almost more and more every single year now, is those solar liens, because everybody's getting solar on their house, especially in California, as it becomes cheaper and cheaper to lease those solar panels. But it becomes a big issue, especially if the buyer's not aware that they have to take over those solar leases, or the seller has to pay it out some way or another. So as soon as I see solar panels on top of houses that I'm showing buyers, that's the first thing I'm doing is contacting title, see what's going on with those liens, because that could become an issue if you don't know about that or don't really take care of it until halfway through escrow. And then you're really going to be setting yourself up for failure. So I know you kind of answered it a little bit already, but kind of a second part of that question. So what are some of the best practices that sellers can do to make sure, and buyers for that matter, that can really make sure you don't have issues during escrow because of title?
So again, the number one thing anybody can do to ensure that there aren't title issues, because honestly, we can stop an escrow dead in its tracks. Lenders aren't going to lend, buyers aren't going to buy, sellers aren't going to sell without title insurance. And in order to do that, we need to provide clear title. Simple as that. So the number one thing everyone can do, as soon as a listing is taken, you need to order a listing prelim. Hopefully it'll be with us at Fidelity Title is Boring at FNF.com. But if it's not us, I totally get it. But like the number one thing you can do is order a listing prelim and see what encumbrances and hurdles you might have to get over at the beginning. The number two thing, and probably honestly just in line with ordering the listing prelim, is to have your sellers and your buyers fill out a form called the statement of information, which is returned to the title company. So Josh, I can tell you people a little bit about that, hopefully not confuse them if you'd like.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead. Break it down as simply as you can.
So there's items that are recorded against real property, against the address of a house. And then there's items that are recorded against an individual's name. Okay, that would be like tax liens, like IRS liens, child support judgments, like lawsuits, things like that are actually recorded against a person's name. And so what we need the statement of information for is to confirm whether or not certain liens or judgments belong to our specific seller or buyer or borrower. And even in some cases, in very, very rare cases, new encumbrances can actually get added after the statement of information has been completed. And if something gets added after the statement of information has been completed, it's not something that can be taken care of like that. It's going to require some type of demand from a federal office, from a state office, from a court office that has some pretty long lead time. So let me give you a quick example.
Sure.
There is one other David Glanzrock, believe it or not, in Florida. David's a Florida guy, okay? Like, he's got some judgments, he's got some lawsuits, but we have the same name. It's super easy for us to figure out that the stuff that David doesn't have in Florida doesn't belong to me, all right? Now, Josh Alexander, you're a unique guy. Awesome dude, fantastic realtor, very common name. Could we agree?
Very common.
So Josh, you own a house, you're going to sell, you're going to refinance. We pull up a prelim. As part of our search, there's a Josh Alexander in Chicago, Illinois that owes back taxes on the IRS. That shows up on the preliminary title report. Everyone's first reaction to this is to just freak out because they don't owe anything. And it's like, okay, I get that. Everyone just take a breath. Give us the statement of information. As soon as we have that statement of information in minutes, we can say, okay, this tax lien belongs to a different Josh Alexander. It comes off the prelim. So those are two best practices: listing prelim, statements of information as fast as possible.
Got it. So for sellers, obviously there's going to be some cost associated with this insurance portion of it. So on your end, how do you really calculate the cost of title insurance? I know it's more of a in-depth calculation, but just kind of a basic overview of what to expect when sellers are looking at getting title insurance when they're going through escrow.
Okay, so number one, we do not get paid until the deal closes. If the deal falls apart, nobody gets paid. Like we get it. So obviously we want to do everything we can to facilitate that happening as quickly and smoothly as possible. So title insurance, like I said, it's a one-time premium paid at the close of escrow, whether for a purchase or a refinance. There are two title policies actually when it comes to a purchase transaction. There is what's called the owner's policy, which is typically paid for by the seller, and that premium is based upon the sales price of the property. There is also another policy called the lender's policy, which is paid for by the buyer traditionally, and that is based upon the loan amount. Now, trick question, if there isn't a loan, if somebody's paying for it in cash, there's no lender's policy. There's only the loan, there's only the owner's policy. And so we don't calculate it the way escrow calculates it. It's not like a flat fee and then X number per thousand. So it's basically a specific fee in between a price range. And the price range, it's about $5,000 to $10,000, right? So at 900, from $890,001 to $900,000, it's one price. At $900,001, it's another price. And the insurance is actually it's less expensive per the more the house is. So a $3 million property's title premium is not 3 times a $1 million. It actually becomes more affordable the more expensive that it gets. But remember, that one-time insurance premium that you're paying covers the entire value up to the purchase price of the house.
Yep. Got it. Perfect. Well, thanks for the explanation. Because I know, especially on the buyer side too, a lot of buyers kind of think that it's only paid by the sellers. But if you do have a loan on the property, it does get put into something that the buyer is going to owe, and especially in terms of the lending side of things. So I think the last question I have, and this is more for investors really, but people that are buying properties, especially that are only buying them short term. I know there's some ways, I've heard you talk about it before in some of your YouTube videos, but what is some ways that investors can really save some money in terms of having that title insurance? They are going to be selling it quickly and not really keeping the property in long term.
Got it. That's another great question. This is probably the number one thing that we want people to be made aware of. Our fees are filed with the state. Like there aren't discounts for title premiums. Like the fee is the fee is the fee. So there's very few things, if anything, we can do really to save money or on a discount if a deal's tight. The one thing that we can do is if you're representing a buyer, or you're an investor, or maybe you're buying a property that you plan on selling within 2 years, it's tremendously important that during the escrow process, you put in writing to the escrow officer that you want to purchase a title binder, okay? What a title binder allows a buyer or an investor, specifically short-term holds for flips, to do is it allows you to pay a significantly reduced rate when you go to sell the property. So there's some math involved here. A binder costs 10% of the owner's policy. So let's say the owner's policy is $2,000. It'll cost your buyer $200 to get that binder.
Got it.
The binder lasts for 2 years. They do some work to the property, they rehab it, they renovate it, and they go to sell. Let's say the new owner's policy would cost them $2,400. But remember, they have a title binder. So the cost when they go to sell, the flipper or investor goes to sell, is the difference between the new policy and the old policy. So instead of paying $2,400, they're only paying $400.
Got it.
Okay.
And we know investors, you want to make sure you're saving every penny you can. So it's extremely important to know that.
Good.
Okay, perfect. Well, that's pretty much all the questions I have for you. I know obviously title is boring, so people that have listened to this, thank you for staying tuned, but it's also extremely important to make sure that you're protecting yourself during the escrow process and making sure that you're not going to have issues after escrow closes with people because of the title. So thanks for joining today, David, and I'm sure we'll have you on again sometime soon. But until then, everybody stay happy, healthy, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Take care.
Bye.
If you found this podcast useful, please hit subscribe and leave a review below. I'd really appreciate it. And if you have any family or friends that want some more information about buying or selling a home, or just want to stay updated on the Orange County housing market, please share it with them. It'd mean the world to me. Thanks.